Hey everybody, I'm Chet Buchanan. We want to invite you to gather around right now for a very special story time where we will share the work of 18 talented young writers and illustrators from right here in Southern Nevada. For over 20 years, the Vegas PBS Kids Writers Contest presented by Janice Allen has given children in our community the opportunity to express their creativity and build literacy skills by writing and illustrating their very own stories. So over the next half hour, you're going to hear a diverse range of writing that a judging panel has selected as the winners of our 2020 competition. From fairy tales about unicorns, to nonfiction about a foster family, to poetry about what it means to have a home. So settle in, join us in celebrating these phenomenal local students. We are going to have a good time. So we're going to kick off the show by beginning at the beginning. Kindergarten. Our first place winner is Justin, a homeschooler. Get ready to go on a bike ride with a sheep named Perky. In his story, the sheep has his helmet.
Hi, I'm Justin and I'm 5. When my best friend and I went to the mailbox and I was thinking if I could do a story about this. The sheep has its helmet by Justin. Me. Once upon a time, there was a nice little sheep named Perky who lived in a nice house. Perky put on his helmet, safety first in always. Then he chose his vehicle. He had 2 vehicles, his tricycle and his bicycle. He chose his bicycle because he was the big boy. He was 3. When he had his bicycle, he went to see the beautiful leaves. The leaves were red, purple, yellow, and orange. One second day, he rode his bicycle to the rainbow mailbox. The door was open and the mail was gone. He went north, not south, to Mr. Carlo's house. He stayed a long time at Mr. Carlo's house. Then he went to a restaurant to get some food. Then he rode his bicycle back home. Yay!
An amazing job. Can you believe Justin created that story when he was just 4 years old? The second place winner for kindergarten is Adeline from Pinecrest, Inspirata. Adeline's story, The Lonely Bunny, is about a little bunny named Susu and his search to find a friend at the park. This little guy looks everywhere for a buddy, by the monkey bars, under the slide, and even around the trees. Finally, his determination pays off, and he meets a bunny and a kitty at the picnic tables. They invite Susu to share their carrots and their juice and their sandwiches and their cake, and he happily enjoys the feast with his new friends. Great job, Adeline, on your second place win. And wrapping up kindergarten is Mia from Desert Torah Academy. She won 3rd place for her story, Sparkle Glitter, about a unicorn who freezes while exploring an ice castle. Luckily, Sally the pony notices Sparkle Glitter's reflection and comes to her rescue. Using a long, hook-shaped branch, she pulls Sparkle Glitter out of the castle and places the unicorn in warm water. The pair become best friends and never leave each other's side. Congratulations, Mia, on writing a heartwarming story on friendship that earned you 3rd place. And now, let's hear from Lillian, our 1st grade, 1st place winner from St. Francis de Sales, as she takes us on a hiking trip in her story, The Adventures of Mary and Kat.
Hi, I'm Lily, and I'm 7 years old. Well, mostly it's because when Mrs. Thomas told us that we had to make our own books, I thought of something that was made up about my stuffed animals. I thought about a zoo, but then I said, maybe hiking. The Adventures of Mary and Cat by Lillian. On a bright sunny morning, Mary and Cat woke up. They asked their parents to go on a hiking adventure, and so they did. When they went on the hike at Zion, they saw big rocks, and they were red, orange, brown, and gray, and some were small rocks. There was a winding river with clear water. Then there was a gust of wind and blew the map away, but Mary and Cat didn't give up. Then they had an idea. Mary grabbed the binoculars out of the backpack. Then Mary saw the map at the hiking spot. So they hiked up a little more because there was 3 paths. They chose the second path and led them to the map. They read the map. Mary and Cat decided together the quickest and safest way to go home. When Cat and Mary got home safely, they had pizza. The end. I hope you liked my story.
What a clever story, Lillian. I agree, there's no better way to celebrate a hiking adventure than with a slice of pizza. The second place winner for first grade is Brody from St. Francis de Sales for his nonfiction story titled Love, Lincoln. In it, Brody shares his experience as a foster brother to a little boy named Lincoln. Lincoln and Brody became best friends during the year that they were together, and when Lincoln's mom was better and able to take him home, Brody was happy for him, but sad to say goodbye. In the end, we learned that Lincoln was grateful to have Brody as a brother too. Thanks for writing such a beautiful, personal story, Brody. And rounding out first grade is our third place winner, Allison from Henderson International School, who wrote an informational text about space, told in her own words. The reader learns all about asteroids, including the fact that an asteroid belt is, well, just a lot of asteroids. She also devotes a whole section to the topic of space junk. Her writing was complete with a table of contents and even a glossary. Sounds like we may have a future astronomer in the making. Well done, Allison. Nice job. And next up is Gabriel, our second grade first place winner from Las Vegas Day School. He's going to share his story. In it, the characters learn that counting a ladybug's spots is a lot more challenging than they expected.
My name is Gabriel and I'm 8 years old. My story is about a ladybug. And it took me about 2 weeks to write it. In the story, the ladybug needs to know how many spots it has so its friend Cricket can paint a picture of it. How many spots do you have, Ladybug? By Gabriel. One day in a park, Cricket was busy painting a pink ladybug who sat in front of him. Cricket drew a circle and then 2 black dots. After a moment, he paused and then asked Ladybug, "My dear friend, how many spots do you have?" Ladybug thought for a moment and replied, "I do not know the answer. The last time I tried, my neck wasn't nearly long enough." "That's okay. I'll count," replied Cricket. Cricket started to count. He counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7, or I think it would be 8, and then 4. He thought for a moment and said, "I don't know if 8 or 4 comes first, but I can ask Grasshopper." Cricket asked Grasshopper, "How many spots does Ladybug have?" Grasshopper started to count the black dots on Ladybug's back. Grasshopper was so busy counting, he didn't realize he was jumping higher and higher. He jumped so high, he lost track of his counting. Ladybug asked Mrs. Ant, "Can you count my spots?" Mrs. Ant said, "Yes, I can help you count the spots, but I will have to climb on your back." "Okay," replied Ladybug. So Mrs. Ant climbed on Ladybug's back and counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Ladybug started to wiggle and then had the jiggles because she was so ticklish, and then Mrs. Ant fell off. Ladybug started to cry. Mrs. Ant said, "We don't care how many spots you have. We still love you." When Ladybug stopped crying, she told Cricket to put as many spots as he wanted. Cricket's painting was so good that it got hung up in the Nevada National History Museum in the Bugs exhibit. The end. I hope you enjoyed my story.
Fantastic work, Gabriel. The dialogue and illustrations in your story really brought your characters to life. The second grade second place winner is Milo from Las Vegas Day School. His futuristic story, Inventions of a Kid, is set in the year 2059. It's about a teenager named Jack who always wants to ride a skateboard, but always falls because it's too wiggly. So using the design process, he invents a solution to his problem, a hoverboard. He shares his creation in a YouTube video that lands him 3 billion views and a job as an inventor. Awesome work, Milo. I hope you continue your work as an inventor of creative stories. Chloe from St. Francis de Sales is our third place winner for second grade. She explores a serious question in her story that most people have wondered at some point in their lives. What do teachers do in the teacher's lounge? At first glance, she sees the teachers reading, talking on their phones, but upon further investigation, she discovers a magical place that transports the class to Florida. And while there, her teacher rides a whale and the class plays bingo all night. That's a creative story, Chloe, and I bet teachers wish it were a work of nonfiction right about now. Moving on to third grade, let's hear from our first place winner, Malia from Bartlett Elementary School. Her story, Pine Cones, shows us the importance of thinking out of the box. Malia?
Hi, my name is Malia. I am 9 years old. Well, my mom told me that most good stories like the ones on Pixar take everyday objects and turn them into magical things. And so I just thought pine cones. People collect pine cones sometimes, and those are super everyday objects. So what if I did something with that? I just worked on that. I'm Malia, and today I'll be reading you Pine Cones. Jack was a boy who loved pine cones and had an abnormally large collection of them. One day, Jack's mom told him that it was time for him to start kindergarten, and he was worried that he wouldn't make friends. He knew that normal people don't have pine cones, and he didn't want to be labeled as a weirdo. The night before the first day of school, Jack went to his room. His mom tucked him in, and he was extremely nervous for what the next day might bring. Jack heard a loud crash. He looked and noticed that his pine cones had moved near an open window in his room. The pine cones jumped out the window and waddled away from his house like penguins and into the woods. He was curious to see where they were going and followed them. The pine cones didn't notice that he was following them. They arrived at a meeting with thousands of other pine cones. They were all trembling and scared. The leader explained that powerful storms arrive every 500 years, that during the first storm, a brave pine cone opened up his seeds and tried to blow away the storm. However, he was badly hurt. He suggested that they should stay close to protect themselves from the storm, as they always had. One little cone suggested that if they all open up together, their combined seed dispersal would stop the storm for good. "That is not normal for us," shouted another cone. The leader said that it was too risky. The little cone was embarrassed. Jack felt bad. He realized that being normal wasn't always the best solution. Jack stood up for the little cone and explained that if the plan would work if they wouldn't be afraid to act differently. They listened to him. They dispersed their seeds together and they defeated the storm for good. Jack opened his eyes. It was a dream, but it was a dream that gave him the courage to face the first day of school without the fear of being different. The end.
Malia, those expressions you gave the pine cones were priceless. The second place winner for third grade is Callista from St. Francis de Sales for her rhyming tale, Hurdle the Turtle. Hurtle is a baby turtle who just hatched from an egg, and after he squirms his way to the ocean, he learns he can swim and sets out on a mission to find a sea turtle family. Along the way, he witnesses amazing sea creatures that share his ocean habitat, including sharks and eels, and happily, Hurtle meets a group of big sea turtles who take him under their fins. Incredible work, Callista. We were all rooting for Hurtle the whole entire time. And the third place winner for third grade is Nikita from Las Vegas Day School. Now in Nikita's fairy tale, The Letters That Zoe Wrote, the king demands the Pied Piper remove all mice by playing his flute. Zoe the mouse decides to write a series of letters to try to save her family. By piecing together the responses, she solves a mystery that reunites the Pied Piper with his family. Thanks to Zoe, the Pied Piper realizes mice aren't that bad after all. And Nikita shares an important message that, with a little understanding, we can all get along. Our next author is fourth grader Bella from St. Francis de Sales. She won first place for her unique story, The Magical Garden, which is told almost completely through figurative language. Listen.
My name is Bella. I'm 10 years old. Well, I was doing my homework and we were doing idioms, and I was just looking for idioms so it can help me for my homework, and it just came across me when I was searching for some idioms. The Magical Garden by Bella. It was a regular Sunday morning in the magical garden when Timothy the tomato woke up remembering that Alicia the apple of his eye, was having her birthday party tomorrow. Since he forgot to buy a present, he was in a pickle. Alicia the apple was as pretty as a peach and as sweet as honey. He went nuts over her, but was earning peanuts. The shame and embarrassment of not bearing a gift to the party would be a bitter pill to swallow. So he quickly wore some clothes to hastily buy a gift that is the greatest thing since sliced bread for a reasonable price. The first shop he stopped at was a flower shop. The flowers sold like hotcakes, but Timothy thought he would be buying a lemon if he bought roses that would perish in a few weeks to a month. He wished for something that would remain for an interminable amount of time, so it would be memorable. The flowers weren't for peanuts either. The next stop was the jewelry shop that made Timothy quite intrigued. The jewelry was beguiling and could last almost forever, but the expense for a ring or necklace was daylight peanut robbery. They weren't for all the tea in China, so Timothy thought it wasn't worth his salt. The final stop was a pastry and dessert store. The desserts weren't exorbitant. They were pleasing to the eye, but they weren't even near everlasting. He thought long and hard, and concluded that he shouldn't eat his heart out, and bought 6 small pastries, all of different flavor because variety is the spice of life. Timothy tried one. It melted in his mouth. He didn't think it would be a piece of cake to find, but unexpectedly, it was a piece of cake. It was definitely something worthy of Alicia. Although his decision was a bit half-baked, half a loaf was better than none. Not only that, but his decision also bore fruit. After Alicia opened Timothy's present, she tried one, and it tasted marvelous. Timothy was truly proud the moment Alicia said that it was delicious. His gift was a success. The end.
Bella, that's awesome. Daring to be different. I love that with your 1 in a million story. The second place finisher for 4th grade is Danielle from St. Francis de Sales. Now, Danielle embedded the text of her poem, I Have a Home, within her colorful illustrations. On each page, Danielle highlights different environments and describes why each location is a special place to call home. So whether you're on a mountaintop where you rise above the world or in the desert where coyotes howl and prowl, Danielle shows us the beauty of noticing your surroundings. An imaginative poem. Great work, Danielle. The third place winner in 4th grade is Colin from the Meadows School. In his story, For the Love of Baroque, we meet the main character as a curious little boy who loves listening to his mother play Bach on her piano. Now, as he grows older, he learns the violin and becomes fascinated by music of the Baroque period. Bach is his favorite, and he learns to play hundreds of the composer's pieces. As an adult, he performs at Carnegie Hall and moves the audience to tears with his grand finale of Bach's Chaconne. Colin, I have one word for you. First of all, nice usage of the word Baroque. And the word for you? Bravo. Our final reader is 5th grader Nicholas from the Meadow School. If you're a fan of action, adventure, and aliens, you are going to love his first place story, Village 51.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Minson. I'm 12 years old. And what inspired me to write my story is the whole fact that there's a secretive military base in Las Vegas. And the architecture of Pueblo villages I really enjoyed how they look a lot. So the name of my story is Village 51 by Nicholas. It's hard to believe, but one evening, a burning ball of flames crashed in a remote part of the Mojave Desert. I was a curious kid, so I dashed towards the crash site. From the flames, something emerged, but it was green, with rough, dry skin. Oh my God, this is an alien. From a distance, I could see the alien seemed confused. It continually looked around, staring at the mountains and the sand. He limped from the fiery craft towards something along the horizon. I was too far to see what it was, but I could detect the outline of buildings. I decided to spy on the alien, so I slowly crept and then hid behind the sand drifts as the alien trekked along. Once I got closer to the buildings, I realized that this was a village, which looked like the Pueblo villages I had studied in class. Oddly, it appeared that people were living there, although Pueblo villages were supposed to be vacant. Also, these buildings appeared to be more modern. I began to worry that the creature would cause harm to the villagers. I gulped, deciding to get closer to the alien. I had no choice. I put my hand up, took a deep breath, and yelled, "Stop!" The alien seemed confused at first, and then it spoke. Amazingly, it could speak many languages. This freaked me out. How is this thing speaking my language? "I mean you no harm. I only seek refuge," the alien replied in a low, snarly voice. Then suddenly, in the distance, heavily armored military vehicles were speeding straight at us. I knew I had to get this visitor to the village and hide it. I dashed towards the village with the alien, and I burst inside one of the houses. I explained, "Long story short, this guy needs protection." I commanded the creature to jump into the shower and act like it was singing. Hopefully, this would make it seem like nothing suspicious was going on. I took a deep breath, and amid all the confusion, I noticed that the occupant also had hands like the alien, but it quickly put gloves on. My eyes became wider than a baseball. 2 aliens? Area 51 military soldiers quickly burst through the door and demanded to know where the alien was. Nervously, I pointed towards the mountains, and still they interrogated me. The soldiers thought my story was sketchy, but reluctantly, they left, somewhat convinced that I told the truth. "Is this whole village occupied by aliens?" I later asked. The alien replied, "Correct. Years ago, our planet was destroyed by war. Luckily, a group of us were able to escape, but I was knocked off course. So, I landed 50 years later than the others." Aha! Now Area 51 made sense. I'd heard about it for years. After hearing their story, I swore to never speak of these aliens again. But rumor has it, 12 years later, the village is thriving. I secretly named it Village 51. And that's the end of my story.
What a thrilling story, Nicholas. Nicholas is no stranger to this contest. He actually won 3rd place last year, so we congratulate him on his repeat win. The 2nd place winner in 5th grade is Anna Lee from Priest Elementary School for her story, Susie's Shoes. After oversleeping, Susie rushes to her first day of middle school. She notices everyone is looking at her, but she doesn't know why. When a classmate shouts, "Nice shoes!" Susie looks down and discovers she's still wearing her bunny slippers. The teasing continues until a helpful friend suggests that she reply to any comments with the word, "So?" Soon, Susie has a new reputation as the brave girl. Great job, Anna Lee, for an exceptional story on overcoming adversity. And our final winner is Leo from Piggott Elementary School, who won 3rd place for 5th grade. His story, In Hiding, follows Gerald, a brightly colored ghost crab. While navigating across the beach, seagulls capture Gerald's best friend, Sheldon. To save him, Gerald uses the call of the crab army, and he snaps each claw 5 times and scrapes the sand, which calls upon every crab to join him in battle. This scares the seagulls, and they release Sheldon, but in the end, it was all just a dream. Excellent work imagining the life of a crab, Leo. And just like that, we've reached the end of our program. And I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did. You might have just witnessed a future best-selling author or a world-renowned artist. And if so, you could tell people that you saw him here first. You could revisit these wonderful stories online at vegaspbs.org/writers contest. And while you're there, check out details for next year's contest. If you're in kindergarten through 5th grade, start thinking about a story that you could enter for a chance to win. And grown-ups, keep inspiring those young ones in your life to enter too. Thanks for being here.